to see what used to be called the Rust Belt become the home of a significant resurgence of manufacturing. Putin may circle Kiev with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their... Preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble. And a pound of Ukrainian people, the proud people, pound for pound, there's simply nothing beyond our capacity. Increasing the productive capacity of our economy. I call it building a better America. We won't stop. Because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread of these diseases. As one people, one America, the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him. In Afghanistan face many dangers. One being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq. The third piece of that agenda is support our veterans. Veterans are the backbone and the spine of this country. They're the best of us. I've always finally get the benefits of the comprehensive health care.
46% said he did enough on violent crime. Majorities for both inflation and violent crime said he did not do enough. And again, I just want to remind you, that is the majority of a speech-watching audience that is more democratic than the American populace overall.
I also think there was a strange moment at the end where he said, go get him. That was audible to the audience, and we're not quite sure what he means.
I think we were all waiting for it to be tied exactly, and then I think we were all waiting for this to frankly be a Ukraine sandwich, and then it didn't land there a little bit. I mean, you know, and so again, I think we're all saying the same thing. I think we all expected a little bit more.
We've seen over the last year Joe Biden take a slide in the polls. There's no doubt about it. He's not just taking a slide with the overall public. He's also taking a slide, and I think this reflects that, the instant reaction to the speech, with people who are even supportive of him or who are in his party. And
the problem is you didn't hear a great deal of new information, not any major new sanctions, and not the kinds of specific help that the Ukrainians are asking for.
Yep. He had an opportunity, as you said earlier, Nicole, to take a really solid hit at Republicans for having supported Vladimir Putin. He didn't take it. This is 1 year.
He didn't even hint at it.
He didn't even hint at it.
There's a way to do that in a way that doesn't name names, but that does shame the people who have held that position.
I fear this is going to feel like a speech that didn't age well.
Speech that didn't age well. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are live a little bit late today. We were up till 1 a.m. last night doing some incredible interviewing with Lauren Boebert, the hero of the hour, the queen of the memes this morning. What a wild time. What a disaster. The State of the Union is weak. It's feeble. It's frail. It can barely speak English. The State of the Union is embarrassing and creepy and weird and has dentures and a lot of plastic in its face. The State of the Union was boring and lame. Joe Manchin sat with Republicans the entire time. What happened? Joe Biden got called out to his face by Lauren Boebert, and if you were watching our program last night, you saw it all. We had Lauren Boebert on with us. We'll play you a clip in just a moment. But first, ladies and gentlemen, how about the dude who's supposed to be talking? How about the guy who's supposed to be walking, sauntering into the Capitol like it's his own hometown, pistols on his side, getting up on the dais and giving a kingly, regal talk? None of that happened. It was an embarrassment for everyone. I've never seen the State of the Union where the Speaker of the House, who sits behind the President, has to cajole their members to stand up and speak, where various members of the audience didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and where the President was openly heckled in front of his own Congress, a Congress that is controlled by Democrats, a Congress that is controlled in the House and Senate by his own party. What a disaster. What a joke. And we have for you the greatest clips from the State of the Union. It took us a second to get this show together because there was just so much disaster. The State of the Union started with Joe Biden talking about Ukraine. A little odd. I think it'd be important to talk about our country. We got a lot of problems going on here. But hey, listen, we don't want people in Ukraine to suffer. Everyone was wearing Ukrainian flags. Not everyone was wearing American flags. That's a little weird. You'd be called a jingoistic racist if you talked with such patriotism about this country that they talk about Ukraine with. But hey, we're just making points around here. These people certainly do love a distraction, and so they talked about Ukraine nonstop. Unfortunately, the people in Ukraine can't be too at ease watching this because Joe Biden doesn't even know what their nationality is. Joe Biden said that Ukrainians are, in fact, Iranians. We have the clip. Go.
Putin may circle Kiev with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom.
He'll never gain the hearts of the Iranian people. The funny part about that clip is that he actually did gain the hearts of the Iranian people. Iran works with Russia as an ally on virtually all fronts. And Russia actually is negotiating peace deals with Iran and the United States. Russia is and has won the hearts and minds of the Iranian people. It's the Ukrainian people who they're bombing, Joe. But you know, Joe wants to let the people of Ukraine know that if they just built a wall high enough, that they may be able to keep out vaccines. We'll see, Joe Biden. If you build a wall, you can't stop a vaccine. What? Clip, go.
On Earth. We won't stop. Because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread of these diseases. You know, we've lost so much in COVID-19.
You can't build a wall high enough to keep out the vaccine, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, that's the wall that they want on our southern border, the one tall enough to keep out the vaccine. What a absolute dumpster fire. We're not done yet. If you want to set something on fire, and if you're a big fan of what was formerly known as the Rust Belt, well, your brain will be set on fire as Joe Biden tries to talk about the place that you live. Joe Biden talking about the Rust Belt? Go.
On Earth. Time to see the what used to be called the Rust Belt become the home of a significant resurgence of manufacturing.
Manufacturing. Yeah. Man, this entire spectacle was just creepy. Don't let octogenarians run your country. Joe Biden is 79 years old. Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, both born during World War II. Creepy, plastic, weird, dentures, brain, snapping. And Joe Biden thought he did a really good job. Instead of ending on a positive note or having some type of rhetorical lift or flourish, as they call it in the speechwriting industry, Joe Biden ended by screaming at everyone. He yelled his way through the end of his speech like he often does because he has sundown syndrome. Sundown syndrome is the sun is down, he's old, he wants to go to bed, and Joe Biden really wanted to get to bed. He essentially screamed his way through the very end of his speech. It was cringy, it was horrible, and it ended so confusingly. Let's listen.
On our 245th year as a nation, I've come to report on the state of the nation, the State of the Union. And my report is this: the State of the Union is strong because you, the American people, are strong. We are stronger today. We are stronger today than we were a year ago. And we'll be stronger a year from now than we are today. This is our moment to meet and overcome the challenges of our time. And we will, as one people, one America, the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him.
Is he talking about? What does go get him mean? Well, there are two converging opinions as to what go get him means. Go get him could be Joe Biden having a aneurysm, a dementia-aided aneurysm, and a flashback, thinking that he's talking about Osama bin Laden. Maybe he's going to go get him. Maybe going to go hunt him down. You know, Joe Biden was serving as vice president when Navy SEALs did that. Maybe he was just having an aided flashback, or Joe Biden was reading the prompter, as he's known to do, and go get him was actually written in the prompter for his handlers to run up on stage and get him. Those are the prevailing opinions right now as to what go get him means. Joe Biden, of course, confusing the entire world and confusing the corporate press, who had no idea what the hell to make of all of this. I have no idea what to make of Nancy Pelosi. Cheers up. If you were watching last night, I cheers Nancy Pelosi's doctors. Boy, what kind of cocktail are they pumping into this lady? She was behaving like a crazy old bat last night, and it made no sense what she was doing. In the next clip we're about to play for you, you will watch Nancy Pelosi grind her teeth. You will watch her grind her jowls, grind her knuckles together for absolutely and apparently no reason, almost like she's celebrating Joe Biden talking about burn pits, which is super weird. And you will see Nancy Pelosi almost fall over. That's right. Nancy Pelosi nearly falling over, grinding her mouth and hands together for no apparent reason other than she's having a seizure or an aneurysm? I don't know. You be the judge. Watch.
In Afghanistan face many dangers. One being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq. The third piece of that agenda is support our veterans. Veterans are the backbone and the spine of this country. They're the best of us. I've always finally get the benefits of the comprehensive health care.
What's most rage-inducing and what is most insulting in all of that is that during many of those clips, Joe Biden was talking about veterans, our military. He's talking about burn pits in Iraq and so on and so forth. Joe Biden likes to conflagrate his son's service in the military with those who gave their lives for our country in the line of duty, in the line of service in wartime. Joe Biden's son didn't do this. Joe Biden's son was serving as the Attorney General of the state of Delaware when he got brain cancer. It's tragic, and he died. But it's a very strange thing that Joe Biden often does, and we find it relatively repulsive when it's linked with the truism that Joe Biden didn't even mention Afghanistan. He didn't mention the 13 American soldiers who gave their lives in Afghanistan fighting, I guess, calamitously for the American withdrawal. He didn't mention the Afghan withdrawal at all. Must not have poll tested with the focus groups that well. Pretty irritating. None of the widows or the wives that you would normally see up in the stands who have lost their husbands in a major conflict. This is something often that happens. And, you know, Donald Trump did this. You would bring up the widow or the family of some service member who gave their lives, and you would honor them. It's a good opportunity to do that, some place where they can get applauded. You saw none of that at the State of the Union. In fact, the only time that the 13 service members who died on Joe Biden's bloody watch, the watch that he continued to check as their flag-draped coffins were rolled off the plane in the dignified transfer in Dover, Delaware, the only time that they were mentioned is by Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert, in the middle of Joe Biden's speech, said that you put 13 Americans inside of flag-draped coffins when Joe Biden was trying to make a different rhetorical point about flag-draped coffins. Lauren Boebert sending shockwaves through the halls of Congress, calling Joe Biden out to his face on live television, millions of people watching, Joe Biden not knowing what to do Pretty astonishing clip. Watch.
And they come home, many of the world's fittest and best trained warriors in the world, never the same. Headaches, numbness, dizziness. A cancer that would put them in a flag-draped coffin. I know. One of those.
Put 13 of them into coffins, Lauren Boebert says, and she's precisely correct. And Joe Biden not mentioning that is shameful. You know, America's a very forgiving place. America's a wonderful place. And the American public is certainly accepting of the fact that we don't have rulers or princes here. We don't have people who have divine right, are infallible like the kings of old. We have normal citizens who get elected president and they make mistakes. Now, I'm not saying that you should ever forgive Joe Biden for killing our soldiers, which he absolutely did. I am simply saying that the American public will forgive the fact that humans make errors. And so if Joe Biden had come out and apologized, if Joe Biden had deeply, remorsefully talked to everybody who had sacrificed for so many years in Afghanistan and toiled in that hellscape, and apologized perhaps for the Bush administration and the Obama administration and every administration that did not end that horrible war, with all of our men coming back in caskets, maimed, without limbs, arms, eyes, ears, maybe perhaps maimed in the mind, some of the worst type of maiming that can happen, PTSD. If Joe Biden had just conceded and apologized and said he was sorry, and then honored the families who sacrificed and bled one last time in that rotted hellscape for our nation, whatever that mission may be, and however ignorantly and daffily it was executed by the Biden administration, I think that people would generally tend to, at the very least, be sympathetic and say the guy is apologizing. But he didn't do it. He didn't even apologize. He didn't apologize. He didn't welcome the families. He didn't even mention them. Lauren Boebert, freshman congresswoman from Colorado, had to mention them for him. That's probably because Lauren Boebert has one of the Gold Star mothers who lost a son in Afghanistan in her district. We spoke with her after the State of the Union, asked her about it. Here's what she had to say. The real thing that affected Americans that you called out to his face is him sending Americans home. That's right. Him sending Americans home in flag-draped coffins.
Flag-draped coffins.
Him checking his watch while that dignified transfer took place in his home state of Delaware, to the disgrace of our country, our military, our flag, those soldiers, their families. And you called him out. Can you walk our audience through this right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So Joe Biden was mentioning Afghanistan and not talking about the horrible withdrawal that took place, the shameful withdrawal that took place under his watch that he checked so frequently. We had 13 of our servicemen and women killed. I have a new Gold Star mom in my district who, in her words, said Joe Biden killed my son. And I feel that grief. I mourn with her. That was the most difficult call that I've ever had to make, and it still compares to nothing that she is going through right now. Losing her son, her son's son not ever being able to see his father's face. And Joe Biden wanted to talk about chemicals that cause cancer. Look, that stuff's terrible. Okay, let's take care of that. But this is real, and this is right now. This is real time. And Joe Biden didn't want to bring up the fact that he took orders from terrorists, the fact that he left American citizens behind, and the disgusting fact that he sent 13 of our Marines home in flag-draped coffins.
This is precisely the point. The point is, as commander-in-chief, it doesn't matter if it didn't poll test well or if you're ashamed of it. You are the leader of our military, and it's your obligation. In fact, it's your duty, if such a thing still exists inside of Joe Biden's cobbled together old mind. It's your duty to honor the dead. It's your duty to honor those who sacrificed under your orders. It is shameful and without honor to ignore them and ignore their sacrifice, to not even mention them. It is truly a time that we live in without honor, and I think that describes so much of our ruling class. It describes so much of the people in the room, the people there who lie to you without honor, the people there who tell you about masking or about COVID or about social distancing or vaccines, and here they are slobbering all over each other in that room. Poof! Changing the science as soon as it fits their needs. So much gaslighting, so much insult to you and your intelligence. A simpler time, ladies and gentlemen, a simpler time would be when the President of the United States took a moment on national television to let all of us honor those who gave their lives for this country, whether the president was exceedingly poll-tested or proud of these moves or perhaps mistakes. Mistakes happen inside of the military and inside of a theater of war. The chaos and fog of war can claim lives. It's never a good thing to have our soldiers die, our Navy SEALs die. It is always the right thing to honor them and to honor their families. A simpler time, a less poll-tested time, a less Washington consultants time, a less swampy time, is when Donald Trump honored the widow of a Navy SEAL. It was simple, it was pure, and it led to perhaps the longest applause line in the history of the State of the Union. The widow wept and cried, and in the year 2017, life was simpler, and things were slightly more aligned and as they should be. This is what it sounded like. Let it refresh your soul.
We are blessed to be joined tonight by Corinne Owens, the widow of U.S. Navy Special Operator, Senior Chief William Ryan Owens. Ryan died as he lived, a warrior and a hero, battling against terrorism and securing our nation. I just spoke to our great General Mattis just now, who reconfirmed that, and I quote, Ryan was a part of a highly successful raid that generated large amounts of vital intelligence that will lead to many more victories in the future against our enemy. Ryan's legacy is etched into eternity. Thank you. Thank you.
It doesn't take much. You probably remember watching that widow weep and cry and thank the president. We have no idea if that woman is a Republican. We have no idea, nor do we care. Who cares, really? There are some things bigger than politics, and honoring the families of those who died on your orders and for all the rest of us is bigger than politics. You shouldn't poll test that kind of stuff. It shouldn't matter to you. It should be in your heart. You are a moral being. You should want to honor the families of those who gave their lives for this country. The families of the 13 American soldiers who perished in Afghanistan should have been inside of the halls of Congress last night. They should have been there for all of us to recognize them and say thank you. But we don't live in a moral time anymore. We do not have moral leaders. We have weak leaders. Leaders who bring shame on our nation, leaders who care and have only ever cared about their own sick, parsimonious little lives, their own ability to glean and get and rip and strip mine from our system, riches for their own families, and leave the rest of us in the lurch. These people know no honor, and they know no morals. They certainly don't know when they're being dishonest, and we can see that clear as day. The Federalist has Joe Biden's 17 greatest lies told during the State of the Union. We cherry-picked a few of them that we thought you should know about. If you were listening, of course, you said, no, he's lying right there. But here are just the most demonstrable, egregious, on-the-face lies that Joe Biden told shamelessly last night, as he is a man without honor. Freedom will always triumph over tyranny. That's a quote from Joe Biden. Freedom will always triumph over tyranny. Little weird from the guy who brought you the vaccine mandate, said millions of Americans must lose their jobs if you do not do as I say and take the medicine that you may not want. Joe Biden opined in his speech by praising COVID-19 theater in the legislative chambers, saying freedom will always triumph over tyranny. The audacious claim comes just a few months after the president tried to force coronavirus jabs on workers, pushed his administration to work with big tech to censor political opponents, and smeared Republicans as domestic terrorists for caring about their kids' education. Yeah, he is the tyranny. Powerful sanctions stopped Russia, Joe Biden said. Days after Joe Biden said the U.S. sanctions against Russia weren't expected to prevent anything from happening. He said that. Sanctions will not prevent anything from happening. Real quote from the real president. The president claimed that he leveraged powerful punishments against Vladimir Putin, which stopped the Eastern European advance in his tracks. A Russian dictator invading a foreign country has costs around the world, Biden said, and I'm taking robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at Russia's economy. 24 hours before Biden's contradictory statement, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters that the sanctions are meant to have a deterrent impact against Russia. Vice President Kamala Harris, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and cabinet members also promoted sanctions as a way to stop Putin from invading Ukraine. A lie. It's just all a lie. Joe Biden has done nothing. He hasn't even stopped Russian energy from flowing. We import 600,000 barrels of Russian crude a day. The Keystone Pipeline would have provided well in excess of 1 million barrels a day. You do the math. Joe Biden gave the Russians their pipeline and killed ours. As Mark Levin said on his fantastic program, Joe Biden has sanctioned American energy far worse than he's sanctioned Russian. The next slide, buying American products is a priority. Biden said buying American products is a priority for his administration, but has conveniently avoided reinstating the U.S. energy independence by cutting off Russian oil supplies and lifting a ban on American drilling. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert reminded us of that. She wore this incredible scarf. It was like a scarf, like a sachet. It said, "Drill, baby, drill," on the back. Well done, Lauren. Such a badass. We wish she would have worn a Let's Go Brandon mask, but what can you do? Biden's lie also ignored the fact that the White House recently defended buying at least $1.3 billion worth of COVID-19 rapid tests from China, the nation that brought you the coronavirus 19, and disseminated to Americans instead of relying on locally sourced ones. Yeah, that's right. So they bought Chinese test kits. This was a big scandal. Of course, not big enough. They're not ashamed of it. They have no shame. Our economy roared back faster than almost anyone predicted. False. Biden claimed that our economy roared back faster than anyone predicted, but the average American suffers the consequences of a prolonged supply chain crisis and inflation. It's clear that price hikes, once touted by the administration as short-term, are here to stay. Solution to inflation is to lower your costs. Ha! Yeah, Joe Biden, the guy who's never, ever created a job, never done a single thing in the private sector, never, ever brought a product to market in any type of way that would resemble capitalism. He's only ever been a robber baron for your tax dollars. Said that businesses must lower their costs, not your wages. Anyone with a brain knows that in order to stay open, companies must raise their prices to pay for increasingly expensive goods. If businesses are forced to raise wages, they must also raise prices for consumers. Duh, obviously. We need to secure our border, Biden said. What an insult. What an insult to all of us. What an insult to the people who've lost members of their family, including a mother in Florida here just over the last few weeks, who had an illegal immigrant ram into her car, killing her 6-year-old child. It is grotesque what Joe Biden has done to our border. It is downright illegal. It's literally illegal via the letter of the law, and he should be impeached for it. Biden says he wants to secure the southern border, that he's taking swift action to do so. The truth is that 100,000 illegal immigrants are crossing the U.S.-Mexico border each month after the administration opened the border. Biden did not only start his presidency by stripping border protections enacted by Trump, but welcomed illegal immigrants with open arms. As a result, the Border Patrol encountered at least 2 million illegal aliens at the southern border in 2021 alone. Many of these illegal aliens were released in the United States with loose instructions to report back to ICE facilities, but of course they don't. Joe Biden was reminded by Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert what the true solution to our border crisis is. Watch this beautiful video.
Advance liberty and justice. We need to secure our border and fix the immigration system.
So this is, of course, where you get this famous photo now of Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene chanting, "Build the wall." Boy, I love these two. They're, of course, correct. Joe Biden also talked about trying to make sure that his church and their teachings get eviscerated by American law. He was saying that he wants to move forward, not backward. We must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose, Joe Biden said, of abortion. When Joe Biden was asked about it this morning, well, the Catholic Joe Biden, obviously celebrating Ash Wednesday, the ashes sitting there on his forehead, essentially said, "Hey, guys, I'm not a real Catholic. I'm a fake Catholic. I just play one on TV. Check it out."
People of Ukraine.
And last night you said you support Roe v. Wade as a Catholic. Why do you support abortion as a Catholic? Divine church teaching.
I tell you what, I don't want to get in a debate with you on theology, but well, anyway, I'm not going to make a judgment for other people.
Why divine church teaching?
I'm not going to make a judgment for other people, says the guy who wanted to fire you from your job for not taking a jab. Medicine you don't want. That guy says, I'm not going to make a judgment for other people. The guy who called Republican governors Neanderthals for rolling back COVID mandates. That guy, great Christian, good, real solid Catholic there, Joe Biden. Won't even stand up for the right to life. He and his ghoulish counterpart, Nancy Pelosi, rubbing their knuckles together. Sickening, these people. They're disgusting. They disgust me, and they should disgust you. And what's shocking more than anything is that they disgusted their best friends. In fact, we mentioned that Joe Manchin sat with Republicans the entire time during the State of the Union. What does that mean? We don't know. People are saying it might mean that Joe Manchin is going to become a Republican after the 2022 midterms, where there will be a massive, catastrophic red meteorite plunging directly into the swampy blue lakes. We don't know. But we do know this, that Joe Biden's best friends in the corporate press were sort of aghast. They were shocked at Joe Biden's speech. They didn't really know what to say, and they certainly were not impressed. In fact, David Chalian over at CNN said, man, we over-indexed for Democrats as it pertains to poll testing this performance, and the numbers are not looking good for Joe Biden. Check out Joe Biden's friends in the corporate media saying this thing.
46% said he did enough on violent crime. Majorities for both inflation and violent crime said he did not do enough. And again, I just want to remind you, that is the majority of a speech-watching audience that is more Democratic than the American populace overall.
I also think there was a strange moment at the end where he said, "Go get him." That was audible to the audience, and we're not quite sure what he means.
I think we were all waiting for it to be tied exactly, and then I think we were all waiting for this to frankly be a Ukraine sandwich, and then it didn't land there a little bit. I mean, and so again, I think we're all saying the same thing. I think we all expected a little bit more.
We've seen over the last year Joe Biden take a slide in the polls. There's no doubt about it. He's not just taking a slide with the overall public. He's also taking a slide, and I think this reflects that, the instant reaction to the speech, with people who are even supportive of him or who are in his party. And
the problem is you didn't hear a great deal of new information, not any major new sanctions, and not the kinds of specific help that the Ukrainians are asking for.
He had an opportunity, as you said earlier, Nicole, to take a really solid hit at Republicans for having supported Vladimir Putin. He didn't take it. This is 1 year.
He didn't even hint at it.
He didn't even hint at it.
There's a way to do that in a way that doesn't name names, but that does shame the people who have held that position.
I fear this is going to feel like a speech that didn't age well.
For the first time in broadcast history, Chuck Todd was right. You can catch me gasping right now. I'm gasping. We're right. We're right about this, that Joe Biden was born during World War II, so Joe Biden should know better. In the year 1938, Neville Chamberlain flew to Munich to meet with Adolf Hitler and give Adolf Hitler everything he wanted in Czechoslovakia. Adolf Hitler, an evil dictator. Neville Chamberlain, a poll-tested, permanent-class, elitist politician who had only ever done politics his entire life. Wildly out of touch, wildly feline, and deeply incompetent. He signed a peace agreement with Adolf Hitler, and then the world burned. World War II blew up across the globe. 80 million people died. 5% of the world's population died in World War II, all because of the weakness. In fact, when Nazi generals were asked about the state of the German military in 1938, when the peace agreement was signed, asked if a united front of allies could have defeated Nazi Germany, they said, absolutely, absolutely. But the weakness has consequences. And the consequences then was British boys being sent home in body bags, much like weakness now has consequences of our boys and girls being sent home in American flag-draped caskets. Our president is too frail and too weak and too cowardly to even talk about it, to even mention it, to even acknowledge it. What a man without honor. What a weak and feeble, feline man. He is a passive-aggressive, mean person. He is absolutely heartless in his ability to use any conceivable personal tragedy for his own political gain, and he's just a complete jackass as it pertains to how he gaslights this country. Don't believe him. Don't believe the liars, ladies and gentlemen. And pray, pray, pray for a speedy, speedy up-ramp to 2022. 8 months away, and I think we'll have a different country. That's been our show today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for listening in. Whew, what a wild one. We'll see you tomorrow. My name is Benny Johnson.